This video, we're going to talk about 1.2 Objective 3, where we determine whether a sample is likely to be representative of a population. Question 1 asks us to determine whether the following statement makes sense or is clearly true or does not make sense or is clearly false. A study on the effect of gender on movie attendance was biased because the sample consisted of 800 men and 200 women. So the statement does make sense because the movie-going population most likely does not have anywhere near the disproportionate number of men to women as is present in the sample. So more there was bias in the sampling technique or the movie goers at which they sampled, where men may have been more likely to go watch those movies or something like that. Uh, In a Gallup poll of 1,015 randomly selected American teachers, 89% said that they feel vulnerable to identity theft. So let's identify the sample, the population, the sampling method, and then comment on whether you think it is likely that the sample is representative of the population. Let's identify the sample first. That would be the 1,015 randomly selected American teachers. And the population would be all American teachers. And the sampling method was a random sample. And the sample is fairly large and random. So assuming as it was obtained by a reputable firm, the sample is likely to be representative of the population. That's B. Let's now look at number 3. Pollster conducts a research project about how Chinese adults pay their bills. She hands her survey to 48 people in her office building. So let's identify the sample. That would be the 48 people in her office who completed the survey. The population would be all Chinese adults. And the sampling method was convenience sampling. Is the sample likely to be representative of the population? No. There's nothing to tell us that everyone in her building is a Chinese adult who has bills to pay. Um, so there's that problem where the sample may not have been representative at all. It's just a convenience sample. There's bias that's there probably because they all work together in the same building and share similar traits that would probably influence the way that they would answer these questions and so on. But the biggest problem here is there's no guarantee with the small number of people that are chosen, and that there wasn't a equally likely chance to include everybody, and that it doesn't have even necessarily the characteristic that we're looking for here. We would just say that this is a bad survey. We wouldn't do things that way. So now we get to choose sampling technique here. Which one would be best for what we're trying to do? You want to determine the average or mean number of robocalls received each day by adults in Puerto Rico. Sample 1 would be a set of 520 Puerto Ricans randomly selected from a list of all licensed car owners in Puerto Rico. Sample 2 would be the 520 adults in Puerto Rico who respond to a survey published in a newspaper. Sample 3 would be the first 520 people to visit a particular San Juan grocery store one day. San Juan's the capital city of Puerto Rico. And sample 4 would be a set of 520 Puerto Ricans whose phone numbers are randomly selected from a list of all phone numbers in Puerto Rico. So it's all the way down here at the bottom, but sample 4 is the best answer here. And let's talk about why sample 4 is the best answer. So it's a list that is a random sample that is not likely to be biased. And then why was sample 1 not likely to be a representative sample? Sample 1 is likely to be biased because it included only car owners and does not include those who cannot afford a car. So that would be C. And then why is sample 2 not likely to be a representative sample? So sample 2 is a convenience sample based on people who are readers of a particular newspaper and is therefore likely to be biased. So that's A. And why is sample 3 not likely to be a representative sample? So sample 3 is likely to be biased because it's limited to the geographic region of San Juan and just that neighborhood or that store where those people would be shopping, right? So there we go. We've got one more question here, but it's actually based off of a video for you to watch. So please do watch that video. It's a little mini lecture on a flowchart there. That's what FC stands for here is flowchart. But I'll go ahead and help you answer this question. So which of the following sources of data appears to be the best for conducting a meaningful statistical study? We should be able to answer this without watching that video. So randomly select 1,000 adults, then contact them by telephone and let them and ask them a survey question is option A, or publish a survey question in a national newspaper and ask readers to respond. We've already seen how in our last question, how there's some bias there towards just publishing towards people, the question to people who read that newspaper. So that's probably not it. Mail a survey question to 1,000 randomly selected adults and ask them to return their response by mail. And then D, post a survey question on the internet and ask readers to respond to that question. That's going to limit you to people who have internet access, right? And then E, randomly select a shopping mall and ask the first 1,000 shoppers to answer the survey question. That's going to be a convenience sample, so that's not going to be it. So it's somewhere, our choice is somewhere between the randomly selected 1,000 adults with A and the mailing the survey question to 1,000 randomly selected adults with C here. And the better answer here is A, to randomly select 1,000 adults and then contact them by telephone to ask them the survey question. You can be sure who you're talking to, you know who answered the survey, as opposed to sending it by mail and someone could take it out of the mailbox or fill it out for somebody else, or their address could have changed and whatever. You may not get a lot of responses back that way. Lots of people have phone numbers that may not be the people that get the mail at the house and things like that. So you could have a better representative sample by people who have phone numbers, which is most everybody has a phone number, than people who own property and have mailing addresses. All right, so that's it. We'll come back next time and talk about 1.2 Objective 4. See you for the next video.